Good morning, all. This is our third unit, and this is the third lecture for it. That is the stream gauging and floods. Last time I had discussed the area velocity method in detail, along with its examples for finding the discharge passing through the stream from a particular section. We had seen its various advantages, then how it is applicable, then how to find out the various parameters, that is the velocities, then areas at the section, how it is getting divided into number of strips. Then it's two methods, that is a mid section method and mean section method. Whatever the examples we have solved, those examples were based on the mid section method. That is, we have taken all the observations exactly at the center point of a stream, and we have considered that the area covered by that vertical, that is the instrument which you are going to place over there for measurement of velocity, that is a current meter, used to cover the width half of the left hand side and width half of the right hand side strip. And by considering that, we have calculated the velocity, and then we have calculated the area also. The velocity was measured by two methods. First one is a 1-point method and another one is a 2-point method. In a 1-point method, that is used for a shallow depth rivers or streams, whereas for streams or rivers having a larger depths, in that case we used to measure the velocity at the 2 points, that is at a point 2 times the depth of the water and 0.8 times the depth of the water, and then we used to take the average velocity, and from that we used to calculate the discharge by multiplying that velocity to the area of that particular stream. So this part we had seen. Along with that, we had seen the number of examples also. So today we will go for the next methods, that is the other methods. Those are used for a measurement of a velocity, the measurement of a velocity and ultimately the discharge. This is the example which you have kept as an homework. Its answer was 6.88, about 6.6 to 6.9 cubic meter, that is meter cube per seconds. Okay, now we'll go for the next method, which is used for a measurement of a discharge through a river or a stream, that is a dilution technique. No doubt this method is again falls under the category of direct method only. Means we are taking the observations directly and we are calculating the things. So in the dilution technique, what we used to do, we used to use the chemicals or the tracers. So it is also called as a chemical method or a tracer method. Now, how to measure the discharge of a river or a stream by using the chemicals or a tracers. Tracers are radioactive elements. So by using them, how to calculate the discharge passing through the stream? So for finding the discharge by using the tracers or by using the chemicals, various chemicals, it is implemented as from the one of the section. That is, for example, I would like to go for the board so that you will get the idea. Suppose that this is our river stretch we will consider. Suppose that this is a river stretch, and we have considered the two sections, section 1.1 and a section 2.2.1. So this will be our section 1, and this is our section 2 we will consider over here. So what we are going to do is that, suppose that the discharge in the river is passing from section 1 towards the section 2. Then in that case, if a discharge passing through the river is assumed to be a capital Q, suppose that capital Q is a discharge passing through the stream. So by continuity equation, if we'll assume that there is a no loss of the water, in that case, the same discharge will be there at a section 2, isn't it? So now, while using the chemicals or a tracers, what we used to do? We used to add a chemical at a particular section. Suppose that we are going to add a chemical at a section 1 having a concentration say C1. We'll consider that this is a chemical of a concentration. It may be C1, it may be C2, it may be C anything. But time being, we are assuming that it's a concentration as a C1 and it is added, or it has been mixed in at a section 1 with a constant discharge, say small q meter cube per second. Just a minute. We'll consider that it has been added, or it is going to be admitted in a river section at a section 1 at a constant rate of a cube meter cube per second, isn't it? And we'll assume that initially whatever the water is flowing through the stream is having a concentration of the chemicals, say C0. It may happen that it will not have any sort of the chemicals, but time being we are assuming that it is having a C0. Then there will be the addition of what? It's capital Q into C0. This is a initial one, we can say, and this is the added one. It is a mixed one. It is a capital Q. This is a rate of addition, and C1 is the concentration of the chemical which we are going to add. It means that at a section 1 there will be capital Q into C0 plus small q into C1 will be there. This is a total discharge, we can say, where at a section 1 we can say, isn't it? Then at a section 2, that whole chemical is going to mix. Now we are assuming that the water is having a turbulence, so that whatever the chemicals we have added over here, they are going to mix properly with the water which is flowing in the river or the stream. So at the outlet, there will be the combination of concentrations, or there will be dilution of the concentration C1, we can say, isn't it? There will be the dilution of the concentration C1, and there will be the C0, that is the initial concentration, whatever it was there, it will be get enriched with. म्हणजे जे काही सुरुवातीच असणार आहे त्याच्यामध्ये तेच घटक ऍड होऊन काय होणार, त्याचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन हळूहळू वाढणार आहे. Okay, now to find out the total discharge Q, which is unknown to us, this capital Q is unknown to us, C1 concentration is known to us, C0 concentration is known to us, we have measured, we have carried out the chemical tests, and the capital Q, that is a rate of injection of the chemical having the concentration C1, that is also known to us. So at the outlet we can say there will be a Q plus Q into the concentration C1 plus C0, or we can say here as a C2. Then by using a continuity equation, we used to get the capital Q, that is a discharge passing through the stream or a river. How is it so? That if we'll have the at the initial point, that is the starting point, that is a Q into C0 plus Q into C1, that is at a section 1 we did. Then at a section 2 we are considering that there is a dilution of the concentration C1, or there will be enrichment of the concentration C0, or we are going to assume that, or we will assume that whatever the concentration at the section 2 is there, that is a concentration C2, which we are going to measure, which we are going to calculate. Means at the section 2 we are going to take the sample of the water, and from that we are going to trace out what is the concentration of a chemical at that section. So at the second section there will be the capital Q, that is a discharge we can say, plus that is a rate of injection of that chemical into the new concentration C2 will be there. Okay, now just to rearranging the terms, that is if we multiply this C2 in the bracket, then we will have Q into C2 plus small q into C2. Yeah. Okay, then we will take the terms related to capital Q towards the one side and related to small q towards the one side. So we will have small q into C1 as it is. I have kept here over left hand side. Small q, that is a rate of injection, into C1, that is the initial concentration of the chemical. So small q into C1 minus small q into C2. This is top. That is a plus q into C2 will be there to right hand side. While taking to the left hand side, it will become as a minus. So minus q into C2, that is equals to QC2, that is a capital Q into this C2 will be as it is, minus this term, that is a Q into C0, that is a Q C0 we can say. So by rearranging the terms for the Q, we want to calculate the total discharge Q passing through the river or the stream. So what will be there in them? Then we will take this Q as a common. So we'll have here capital Q into C2 minus plus C0. Okay, and we will take that towards the left hand side or right hand side we can say. So we'll get the relation between a capital Q. That is, capital Q will be equals to, here I have taken the small q as a common. So in brackets C1 minus C2 will be there. C1 minus C2 upon, here it will take the capital Q as a common, then there will be in brackets C2 minus C0. And as here C2 minus C0 is multiplying to the Q, so by taking over there, it will be dividing this. So here I have taken it, so it is dividing the term, that is a C2 minus a C0. Then by knowing the magnitude or the amount of a Q, that is which we are injecting at a section 1, then initial concentration of the chemicals those we are going to inject, that is a C1, and the concentration which are measured at a section 2, that is a C2. Along with that initial concentration of the chemical in the at the section 1, we will be able to find out the discharge Q passing through the river section. It may happen that the C0 is a 0. It means that initially whatever the chemicals we are going to add in the river at the section 1, they will not have any sort of a concentration of that chemical. It means that a C0 may be 0. C0 will have the magnitude as 0. So in that case, the equation will be only Q is equals to Q into C1 minus C2 upon a C2. Isn't it? So likewise, we will be able to find out the discharge passing through the river or stream. But the most essential condition for this method or implication of the method is that the river or a stream should be the small with a steady and a turbulent flow. Flow must be turbulent. Why turbulent? Because whatever the chemical we are going to add in it, it should be get thoroughly mixed. It should be completely get mixed with the water. So it is most useful or applicable when the flow is turbulent and a discharge is steady. Means at a section there is no variation of the velocity, discharge or other parameters with respect to the time we can say. Okay, then we'll summarize the things. In this method, the solution of a stable chemicals such as common salt or a sodium dichromate or the radioactive chemicals, those are called as a tracers, are injected at a section and its concentration at other section is measured. Okay, so let the injected solution at a section 1,1 having a concentration as a C1 and injected at a constant rate of small q meter cube per second. Okay, assuming that the liquid flowing at a section 1,1 at a rate of capital Q meter cube per second and having initial concentration of a chemical as a C0. Then at a downstream section, that is at a section 2,2, by continuity equation, whatever the discharge will be there at a section 1, it has to be there at a section 2. That is a continuity equation we can say. So at a section 1, there will be the combination of a initial discharge with the amount of liquid or amount of the chemical rather which you are going to add over there. Just I have multiplied it by their concentrations. Then at a second section or at the other section, it will be there will be the change in concentration due to the dilution. When that chemical is going to mix with the water, flowing water, then there will be a change in the concentration. So at the outlet there will be the initial discharge Q plus the discharge or a rate of chemicals which are added into the concentration of the chemical at a section 2. And by rearranging these terms, we used to get the relation as capital Q is equals to the small q into C1 minus C2 upon C2 minus C0. Okay, so by likewise, we will be able to measure the discharge passing through the river or a stream by using this dilution technique. Why it is called as a dilution technique? Because here we are going to add the chemical and we are going to reduce its concentration. Means we are going to dilute that chemical. We are going to mix that chemical with water so that its concentration is going to be reduced. It means that we are going to dilute that chemical. So concentration we are going to dilute. That's why it is considered or called as a dilution technique. Then the next method is the electromagnetic method. Now by using the electric current or electric supply, we can say how to measure the discharge passing through the river or a stream. Now here it is purely based on the Faraday's law. Now what is the Faraday's law? Faraday's law of the induction of the EMF, we can say. What it says that whenever there is a current carrying conductor is placed, and due to which there will be the influence of the magnetic flux around it. ज्यावेळेस एखादा करंट कॅरिंग कंडक्टर आपण प्लेस करतो त्यावेळेस काय होतं त्याच्यामधून करंट पास होताना त्याच्या सभोवताली अराउंड इट वो क्या करता है मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स जनरेट करता है और यदि वो मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स में जो मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स का जो एरिया है जिसमें उसमें यदि हमने दूसरा कंडक्टर रखा तो क्या होता है इट यूज्ड टू हैव एन ईएमएफ इंड्यूस्ड इन इट यानी कि क्या होता है उसमें इलेक्ट्रोमोटिव फोर्स इंड्यूस होता है उसमें वोल्टेज जनरेट होता है सो द सेम प्रिंसिपल इज अडॉप्टेड ओवर हियर दैट इज इट इज बेस्ड ऑन अ Faraday's principle that is EMF gets induced in the conductor here conductor is nothing but the water is the conductor of electricity. So here we are measuring the velocity discharge passing through the river. It means that the conductor will be the water only. So the EMF gets induced in the water when it cuts a normal magnetic field or normal magnetic flux. यानी कि हमें क्या करना है यहाँ पे we are going to provide the electric conductors at the bottom of the river stretch, and when the current will be passed through these conductors, there will be the formation of a magnetic flux around it. And due to that formation of magnetic flux, and when water is going to move over it, it means that water is going to cut those magnetic flux in a perpendicular direction, that is exactly at a 90 degree. So when that water is going to cut that magnetic flux, it means that electromotive force will be generated in the water, and we are going to measure that generated electromotive force or voltage, we can say, by placing the sensors, and by that we have a relation. That is procedure here. It is a large coils are buried or conductors are buried at the bottom of the channel carrying a current to produce a controlled vertical magnetic field. It is that if we are going to bury those conductors, large conductors, then in that case if we are going to supply the electricity, they are going to produce a magnetic field around it in a vertical direction, in upward direction, and when water is going to move over it, it is going to cut those magnetic field, we can say, and there will be the EMF induced in it. So, and for measurement of that, the electrodes are provided at the sides of the channel to measure that small EMF E which is produced, and it is related to the flow as Q is equals to K1 into ED upon I plus K2 raised to M, whereas E is nothing but the generated electromotive force E, I is the current, and D is nothing but the depth. Whereas K2, K1 and small n are the constants. Okay, so the discharge Q is related to the electromotive force E, depth D and the current I as Q1 times E into D by I plus K2 raised to n. The depth D is the depth of flow, I is current in the coil, and N, K1, K2 are the system constant. Now we'll see that how the mechanism is to be that. Here I have taken the sketch from the book itself. So here we are finding that this is a river stretch. This is a river stretch. This is a one bank of the river and this is the another bank of the river. We'll consider that this is a left bank and this is a right bank. Time being we are assuming that. Okay. Then in this particular stretch where we are going to measure the discharge, we have placed those coils. Here we are finding that those coils, and those are the ends. Those will be connected to the supply. Those cables, we can say cables to the instrumentation part. Then when we are going to when we have placed those conductors exactly in a perpendicular direction to the flow or along the width, we can say this is nothing but the width. So those current carrying conductors are placed along the width, and those are their ends for the connecting to the supply. So when that current will be passed through those conductors, they are going to produce the magnetic field that will be in a vertical direction, vertically upward direction. यानी कि इसके अराउंड जो भी हमने यहाँ पे कॉइल्स प्लेस किए हैं, वो कॉइल में क्या होगा, अभी करंट पास करने के बाद मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स जनरेट होगा, और मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स जनरेट होगा और बाद में क्या होगा, वाटर इज गोइंग टू फ्लो ओवर दैट. So water क्या करेगा, water will be exactly along the horizontal direction x direction, and the magnetic flux or magnetic field is along the y direction, is they are perpendicular to each other. And when that water is going to cut that magnetic field, there will be a induction of a EMF in the water. And to measure that induced EMF, here those probes are provided, voltage probes. Here we can say, here they are shown, voltage probes are provided to measure that voltage which has been induced there. Okay, then along with that the conductivity sensors are also provided. See here over shown conductivity sensors, and up to how much width or beyond the river stretch, beyond the banks of a river, up to how much distance the current is flowing. To measure that, the bed conductivity probes are also provided, because if there exists a living organisms or living things, we can say as animals, cows, etc., in that case there is a chance of the shock. So to control the things or to get the area of the spreading of the electricity, they have provided, or how to provide it, we have to provide rather those probes, so that we will be able to measure the area of the extent, so that at the time of the measurement or at the time of the passing the current, we will be able to cover the area, or we will be able to restrict the movement of any organism, any animals or the living things, we can say living organisms in that particular region. Okay, so likewise the mechanism is there in this method of electromagnetic induction, we can say. Then the next methods, we have to go for its benefits and the limitations also. This method, as we are passing the currents and all those things, it means that it involves the sophisticated and expensive instrumentation part, because we require to provide the sensors at various places. Okay, so it is an somewhat expensive method, then it is a suited for, or it is a best applicable for, we can say, the situations where the cross-sectional properties, means the areas where we are going to measure the velocities or the discharge or the streams or the rivers, those cross-sectional areas are changing with the point. Means if the alluvial rivers used to exist, in the alluvial rivers or streams, their planiforms goes on changing, their alignments goes on a changing. That is, we treat it as a river meandering. So under such circumstances, the other methods fails. So in such cases, this method is a best applicable. Also, wherever there is a chance of a weed growth and a sedimentation, यानी कि जहाँ पे बहुत सारे पौधे उगते हैं और जहाँ पे सेडिमेंटेशन होता है, जो भी मड एक्सेट्रा कैरी किया होता है, सेडिमेंट पार्टिकल जो पानी ने कैरी किया होता है वाटर में, वो आके एक जगह पे सेटल होता है. ऐसी सिचुएशन जहाँ पे है, जिस रिवर्स में है, वहाँ पे ये मेथड सुटेबल है. Also, it is used in a tidal channels. Tidal channels यानी कि जहाँ पे बहुत सारे waves generate होते हैं due to the wind, where the flow undergoes rapid changes both in magnitude and direction. यानी कि जहाँ पे फ्लो की डायरेक्शन बार बार बदलती है, आगे जाता है, पीछे आता है. रोलर्स जहाँ पे जनरेट होते हैं, वहां पे क्या होता है, वाटर मॉलिक्यूल्स आगे जाते हैं, बाद में पीछे आते हैं, बाद में आगे जाते हैं. लाइकवाइज दे यूज्ड टू हैव द मूवमेंट इन 360 डिग्री. अंडर सच केसेस दिस मेथड इज applicable or best suited, we can say. Then the next method we will go for, that is ultrasonic method. This is also a direct method which is used for a measurement of a discharge or for a gauging a stream. अभी अल्ट्रासोनिक यानी कि हमें मालूम है, अभी अल्ट्रासोनिक यानी कि क्या रहता है कि एक जगह से हमने यदि साउंड पास किया तो दूसरे जगह पे और उसको जितना वक्त लगता है बैक में उसका साउंड आने के लिए, उसको हम मेजर करते हैं और उसके हिसाब से हम क्या करते हैं, उसके हिसाब से हम जो भी लगने वाला जो टाइम है वो मेजर करते हैं और उसके हिसाब से हम वो वेलोसिटी मापते हैं. Okay, so likewise we used to have an application of that method for measurement of discharge passing through the stream. So in this method what we used to do, we used to use a transducers. Transducers यानी कि क्या होता है, transducers यानी कि those are having the capability to send and receive the ultrasonic waves, we can say, or radiations, we can say. So before going to that, I want to say here that this method is nothing but extension or as like an area velocity method. This ultrasonic method is as like an area velocity method, where for measurement of a velocity, the ultrasonic signals are used. Means here the area will be measured by our regular wave, that is by dividing a section into number of strips and finding the area of each and every strip. Isn't it? And for measurement of the velocity, here we used to have application of ultrasonic signals. So how they are used? Generally, two transducers are placed on opposite banks of a river or a channel. यानी क्या किया जाता है इसमें, मिनिमम 2 ट्रांसड्यूसर्स यूज किए जाते हैं और 2 ट्रांसड्यूसर जो रहते हैं वो रिवर के अपोजिट बैंक पे प्लेस किए जाते हैं. आई एम गोइंग टू शो द स्केच आल्सो. And their alignment is made in such a way that they align themselves at a 45 degree to each other. It means the two transducers are placed on opposite banks of a channel at a 45 degree to each other, having the capability of sending and receiving a ultrasonic signal. यानी कि जो हम ट्रांसड्यूसर्स यहाँ पे यूज कर रहे हैं वो 2 नंबर में रहेंगे, 2 ट्रांसड्यूसर्स रहेंगे. दोनों जो ट्रांसड्यूसर है वो हम अपोजिट बैंक्स पे प्लेस करेंगे, यानी कि एक यदि हमने नदी के इस तीर में लगाया तो दूसरा दूसरे तीर पे रहेगा और दोनों एक दूसरे को एग्जैक्टली 45 डिग्री में रहेंगे और उनकी जो कैपेबिलिटी रहेगी, दे शुड हैव एन कैपेबिलिटी टू सेंड द सिग्नल एंड टू रिसीव द सिग्नल. Okay, so now we'll see that how they are placed down all those things with the help of the sketch. Here I have shown the sketch. The two transducers A and B, they are placed on opposite banks. This is a one bank, this is another bank. ये नदी का एक तीर है और एक दूसरा तीर है. यहाँ पे सेंसर को नाम A दिया है, इसको B दिया है और दोनों जो एक दूसरे को अलाइन किए हैं, यानी कि दोनों को ज्वाइन करने वाली जो स्ट्रेट लाइन रहेगी, that makes an angle of 45 degree with respect to the horizontal. Okay, then if this is the direction of the flow, then in that case, if the signal is passed from A, then B is going to receive, or if the B is going to send, then A is going to receive, isn't it? And the time will be measured, that is from the moment the signal has been sent to the moment the signal has been received. Okay, so this will be applicable for both of them, that is A to the B, and ultimately we will go for by measuring the distance. So distance is known to us now, the length is known to us, then time is known to us, isn't it? Length of the stretch is known to us, then the time required to move that sound is we have calculated. Then by knowing that time and length, by having the known magnitudes, we are going to find the velocity over here. And then velocity into the area is nothing but a discharge. So Q will be area of this section into the velocity. Okay, so advantages of these methods are the rapid and highly accurate. रैपिड मेथड है क्योंकि यहाँ से ट्रांसड्यूसर से सिग्नल सेंड किया तो हमें यहाँ पे मिल जाएगा. अभी इसमें क्या करेंगे, हमें रेगुलरली विदाउट पासिंग थ्रू द वाटर वी कैन से, और इसको जो टाइम इसका जो वेलोसिटी रहेगा वो वेलोसिटी और टाइम हमें मिलेगा कि सिग्नल का एक डिस्टेंस कवर करने के लिए कितना वक्त लगेगा और उसका वेलोसिटी वो मालूम. बाद में स्ट्रेच का लेंथ मालूम रहेगा हमें क्योंकि जो दो ट्रांसड्यूसर्स है उनके बीच में का डिस्टेंस मालूम रहेगा. So by knowing those things, we will be able to calculate the velocities so rapidly and accurately. Then it is suitable for automatic recording of the data. It means that it will have sensors to it. It will connect. We will have the connections. Then by sitting at the cabin or at the control room, we will be able to measure the velocity and the discharge. Then it handles the rapidly changing flow in terms of discharge and direction as like a tides. It means that this method also handles the varying discharge in terms of the direction, changing direction, that is tides and the reverse rollers we can say. So such type of the flows can be easily adapted or easily those type of the flows will be measured. The requirement is that the channel section must be stable at the gauging side. यानी जहाँ पे हम measurement carry out कर रहे हैं वहाँ का जो channel section रहेगा that must be a stable channel section. Then the next methods are the indirect methods. अभी indirect methods में क्या किया जाता है? They used to have an applications of either the hydraulic structures or they used to have the application of the slopes etc. यानी कि जो चैनल सेक्शन रहेगा उसका जो बेड स्लोप रहेगा वो बेड स्लोप वगैरह यूज करते हैं. So first method under the indirect method is the use of hydraulic structures. So hydraulic structures may be our notch, weir, plume, sluice gate, or partial plumes, cut plumes, etc. etc. Those plumes who have studied in a hydraulic engineering, that is, if the weir is there, then for a weir we used to have a generalized equation of a discharge as a Q is equals to CLH raised to N. C means the coefficient, L is the length of that weir, and N is nothing but the power of the head. Okay, so we are knowing the generalized equation, this one. And if we talk about the rectangular weir, then we can say that Q is equals to 2/3 CDL under root twice G H raised to 3/2. So here we will be required to measure the head, and if we are knowing the coefficient of discharge, means if the weir is well calibrated, in that case we will be able to measure the velocity, and then that measured velocity will be used to calculate the discharge. Means if we know the area of the water flowing there or a water area we can say, then in that case we will be able to find out the discharge passing through that particular structure. So by using the weir, as I have mentioned previously, that is by using the formula of a rectangular weir, that is Q is equals to 2/3 CDL under root twice G H raised to 3/2, we can measure the velocity, and then by measuring the water area, that is the depth of the flowing water, that is here we is to consider, and the width of that weir, we will get the cross-sectional area, and then we will multiply that cross-sectional area by velocity, we used to get the discharge passing through that. अभी यहाँ जहाँ पे विड्थ बहुत ज्यादा रहता है तो वहां पे क्या करते हैं, we used to provide the gates. So by measuring the discharge passing through each and every gate, or if the gates are of the same dimensions, but the gates those are there at the center of the river, they used to pass the maximum discharge than the others. So in that cases, you will be required to measure the discharge passing through each and every gate, and at the last we have to add the discharge of all the gates so that we will get the total discharge passing through that river or a stream, we can say. Similarly, by using the notches and plumes, we are able to measure the discharge. Okay. Then the next method is the slope area method. The slope area method essentially use the Manning's and Chase's equation, where the term of the bed slope is there. For example, if you consider the Chase's equation, that is a V is equals to C root mi, or C root Ri we can say, or Rm, that is the hydraulic radius we can say, and that I is nothing but the channel bed slope in the Chase's equation. So by this Chase's equation, by knowing the slope we can say of the channel bed slope and cross-sectional parameters, we will get the velocity, and then velocity multiplied by cross-sectional area, you will get the discharge. Similarly, by Manning's equation क्या है? Phi is equals to 1 by n, that is a Manning's coefficient or rugosity coefficient is to talk about, into r raised to 2/3. R is a hydraulic radius once again, that is r is equals to a by p, into, yes, that is a bed slope raised to half. So bed slope is known to us, means here we are using the bed slope or magnitude of a bed slope. That's why we are treating it as a slope area method. मीन्स बेड स्लोप का हमने यहाँ पे यूज किया, उसका यूज करके हमने क्या किया, वेलोसिटी निकाला, और उस वेलोसिटी को हमने एरिया से मल्टीप्लाई किया. So slope indirectly indicates here the measurement of the velocity or application of the slope of the channel bed for the measurement of the velocity, and then that velocity will be get multiplied by the area of the cross section or area of that river or stream. Then by that product we used to get the directly a discharge, that is Q is equals to area into a velocity. Clear? So this is about the direct and indirect methods. Those are used for measurement of a discharge or for a river gauging. So the one part has been remained, that is a site selection for a gauging of a stream. यानी कि स्ट्रीम गेजिंग करते वक्त साइट कहाँ का लेने का, यानी कि जहां पे हम स्ट्रीम गेजिंग कर रहे हैं वहां पे, और जहां पे स्ट्रीम गेजिंग कर रहे हैं वो साइट कैसा होना चाहिए, that we have to go for. Now whenever we are going to select the site for a gauging of a stream, in that case we have to select the site in a such a way that the site should be easily accessible. ओके, अभी इजीली एक्सेसिबल इट मींस व्हाट, क्योंकि वहां पे हमें इजीली जाना चाहिए, यहाँ पे वहां पे हमें इजीली अप्रोच करना आना चाहिए, क्योंकि वी शुड बी इजीली गेट एन अप्रोच ऑफ दैट, क्योंकि हम वहां जेव्हा जेव्हा आपल्याला त्या साइटवरती जायचं आहे तेव्हा तेव्हा त्या साइटवरती आपल्याला इजीली पोहोचता आलं पाहिजे. दैट इज द फर्स्ट वन. देन द साइट शुड बी स्ट्रेट, यानी कि जहां पे हम गेजिंग कर रहे हैं, जहां पे हम डिस्चार्ज मेजर कर रहे हैं, वहां का जो पोर्शन है वो पोर्शन कैसा होना चाहिए, स्ट्रेट होना चाहिए और यूनिफॉर्म होना चाहिए. स्ट्रेट एंड यूनिफॉर्म फॉर अ लेंथ, यानी कि कितनी लेंथ तक, कितनी दूरी तक होना चाहिए, अबाउट 10 to 20 टाइम्स द विड्थ ऑफ स्ट्रीम. यानी कि जिस रिवर का और जिस स्ट्रीम का हम गेजिंग कर रहे हैं, डिस्चार्ज मेजर कर रहे हैं, जिस लोकेशन पे कर रहे हैं, वो जो लोकेशन है, वो जो स्ट्रेच है, वो लोकेशन स्ट्रेट और यूनिफॉर्म होना चाहिए, और उसका जो लेंथ रहेगा वो लेंथ, उसका जो विड्थ रहेगा वहां पे, उसके विड्थ के 10 to 20 टाइम्स होना चाहिए. यानी कि मान लो कि वहां पे जो विड्थ है वो 10 फीट है, टाइम बीइंग आई एम अज्यूमिंग दैट 10 फीट इज अ विड्थ ऑफ अ स्ट्रीम, स्मॉल स्ट्रीम. जर का छोटा ओढा असेल तर 10 फुटाचा आपण कन्सिडर करू शकतो. जर का तो शेतामधला असेल, म्हणजे फार्म मधला ओढा असेल, तर तो 10 फूट ते 20 फुटापर्यंत असतो. वी आर अज्युमिंग हियर इट इज having a width of 10 feet. Then इट्स लेंथ एट अ गेजिंग साइट, और जहां पे मेजरमेंट कैरी आउट कर रहे हैं वहां पे उसका लेंथ उसके 10 टाइम्स होना चाहिए, isn't it? यानी कि 100 फीट्स होना चाहिए, यानी कि 100 फीट्स तक वो जो पोर्शन है वो स्ट्रेट और यूनिफॉर्म होना चाहिए। यूनिफॉर्म इन द सेंस उसका साइड स्लोप रहेगा, उसका बेड स्लोप रहेगा, वो सब के सब पैरामीटर्स उसके कांस्टेंट रहने चाहिए। ओके, देन the bed and banks of a stream should be firm and stable. फर्म एंड स्टेबल यानी कि क्या, उसका जो क्रॉस सेक्शन जो रहेगा, दैट क्रॉस सेक्शन मस्ट बी स्टेबल, यानी कि क्रॉस सेक्शन स्टेबल रहना चाहिए। यानी कि क्या होना चाहिए, यदि फ्लो का डेप्थ बढ़ गया, यदि वेलोसिटी बढ़ गई, तो वहां पे इरोजन होता है, यानी कि वहां का जो सॉइल होता है वो यहाँ वहां से निकल जाता है, वैसा नहीं होना चाहिए। सो यानी कि जो भी साइट रहेगा जहां पे हम मेजरमेंट कैरी आउट कर रहे हैं, उसका क्रॉस सेक्शन यानी कि उसका जो एरिया रहेगा उसका, वो एरिया स्टेबल रहना चाहिए। whatever may be the condition of a silting, scoring, velocity, discharge, डिस्चार्ज बढ़ गया, डिस्चार्ज कम हो गया, वेलोसिटी बढ़ गई, वेलोसिटी कम हो गई, तभी भी जो क्रॉस सेक्शन है वहां का, वो क्रॉस सेक्शन चेंज नहीं होना चाहिए, जैसा पुराना था वैसा ही रहना चाहिए, उसको बोलते हैं हम स्टेबल कंडीशन। द नेक्स्ट इज दैट जो भी बेड रहेगा और जो भी बैंक्स रहेंगे, दे शुड बी फ्री फ्रॉम अ वेजिटेबल ग्रोथ, यानी कि हमने पिछली बार देखा पिछले मेथड्स में, तो वहां पे क्या था कि जब हमने इलेक्ट्रिक कंडक्टिविटी मेथड देखा था, उसमें हमने देखा था कि जहां पे क्रॉस सेक्शंस चेंज होते हैं वहां पे हम वो मेथड यूज करते हैं, लेकिन फॉर अदर मेथड्स, फॉर से एरिया वेलोसिटी मेथड्स, इन सच केसेस दैट साइट शुड बी फ्री फ्रॉम वेजिटल ग्रोथ, यानी कि जहां पे वो जो पौधे उगते हैं, ज्याला आपण गवत म्हणतो, ज्याला आपल्याकडे पानकणीस म्हणतात, किंवा आणखी काय म्हणतो त्याला जलपर्णी आपण म्हणतो, त्या वनस्पती ज्या आहेत जलपर्णी वगैरे, त्यांची ग्रोथ तिथं व्हायला नाही पाहिजे। वो जो प्लांट्स है वो वहां पे नहीं होने चाहिए, क्योंकि क्या होगा, यदि जो प्लांट्स है वहां पे तो क्या होगा, ऑब्स्टेकल होगा, ऑब्स्टेकल क्रिएट होगा, और ऑब्स्टेकल होने से क्या होगा, जो वहां पे वेलोसिटी जो रहेगी वो वेलोसिटी कम होती जाएगी और डेप्थ बढ़ेगा। लाइकवाइज, सो इट शुड बी फ्री फ्रॉम वेजिटेबल ग्रोथ, इट शुड बी फ्री फ्रॉम बोल्डर्स, यानी कि वहां पे पत्थर्स नहीं होने चाहिए, बड़े बड़े जो पत्थर होते हैं उसको हम बोल्डर्स बोलते हैं, वो पत्थर नहीं होने चाहिए, स्टोन्स नहीं होने चाहिए, और लाइक अदर ऑब्स्ट्रक्शंस लाइक ब्रिज पियर एक्सेट्रा, यानी कि हमने यहाँ पे पुल बांधा है तो उसके सपोर्टिंग खंबे रहेंगे, वो सपोर्टिंग पिलर जो रहते हैं कॉलम्स, उनको हम पियर्स बोलते हैं, वो वैसा ऑब्स्टेकल उस साइड पे नहीं होना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट पैरामीटर इज so whenever we'll consider the site for a stream gauging, it should have a V shape. It should have a V shape. Why V shape? Because if the cross section you have a V shape, in that case the depth will be more. The flow depth will be more, and it will be easy to measure the velocity by a current meter. यानी कि डेप्थ अच्छा मिलेगा, तो करंट मीटर से हमें 0.2D और 0.8D यानी कि 2 पॉइंट मेथड से हमें वेलोसिटी अच्छी तरह से मापना है, हम इजीली उसको मेजर कर सकते हैं। इसलिए द बेस्ट क्रॉस सेक्शन इज वन विद अ V shape. Why? Because there is a sufficient depth for immersing the current meter. Then next is the stream gauging station should be easily accessible, that I have discussed at the beginning only, because जहाँ पे हमें मेजरमेंट करना है वहां पे हमें इजीली जाना आना चाहिए, वहां पे हम इजीली पहुंच, कोई भी तकलीफ नहीं होनी चाहिए वहां पे ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए एक्सेट्रा, कि जब हम मूवमेंट करेंगे उस लोकेशन तक, दैट मूवमेंट शुड बी इजी एंड अ सेफर वन। And the next one is the gauging site should be free from backwater effect, यानी कि बैकवाटर इफेक्ट क्या होता है, यदि हमने रिवर में कुछ तो ऑब्स्टेकल कंस्ट्रक्ट किया वाटर स्टोर करने के लिए, फॉर एग्जांपल वियर कंस्ट्रक्ट कर दिया, बंधारा बांध दिया, पुल्ला पुल टाइप बंधारा, और हमने एक छोटा सा बंड बांध लिया, वहां पे बांध कंस्ट्रक्ट किया, तो क्या होता है, उससे वाटर स्टोर होता है और उसका जो वाटर सरफेस प्रोफाइल जनरेट होता है, बैक वाटर प्रोफाइल, दैट बैक वाटर प्रोफाइल जनरेट होता है। यदि वैसा बैक वाटर प्रोफाइल जनरेट होता है गेजिंग साइट पे, तो वहां पे मिलने वाली जो डेप्थ है वो अपरेंट रहेगी, वेलोसिटी अपरेंट रहेगी, क्योंकि हमने आर्टिफिशियली वहां पे डेप्थ क्रिएट किया है। सो द साइट शुड बी फ्री फ्रॉम द इफेक्ट ऑफ द बैक वाटर, That is, the site should be above site above the confluencing of the rivers are best to be avoided. यानी कि यदि दो रिवर एक दूसरे को मिल रहे हैं तो वहां पे क्या होगा, वो वहां पे बैक वाटर रिपीट जनरेट होगा, नहीं तो वेलोसिटी सडनली बढ़ जाएगी। तो वैसे जो साइट रहते हैं वो साइट कभी भी स्ट्रीम गेजिंग के लिए सिलेक्ट नहीं करनी चाहिए। ओके, यानी कि हमें वहां पे क्लियर कट ऑब्जर्वेशंस लेने आने चाहिए। So those are the points related to the site selection of a stream gauging. Believe me that those are only some of the points. Those are not all the points. Those are the some of the points those are related to or considered while selecting the site for a stream gauging, so that the observations will be accurate and whatever the discharge or quantities we are going to measure, those will be the appreciable. Okay, so this is the part of the stream gauging. Now we'll start for the next part, that is floods. Now what does it mean about the flood firstly? देखिए flood यानी कि क्या होता है? So right now also we are under the intimation of the government that is there will be the flood, and yet right now there is a condition of the flood in the Sangli Koilapur due to the Krishna basin. And we all are aware those are there in Maharashtra. Krishna river, not only in the last quarter year it has flooded the area, the Sangli Koilapur district, but now also there is a condition of a flood. In the last week only there was an intimation provided by authorities of the Bhima river. There will be the likelihood condition of the flood in Pandharpur. ओके, सो व्हाट डज इट मीन अबाउट द फ्लड? क्योंकि फ्लड यानी कि क्या होता है, किसको हम फ्लड बोलेंगे? रिवर में तो पानी आता रहता है जाता रहता है। सो फ्लड यानी कि क्या? अनएक्सपेक्टेड हाई डिस्चार्ज इन अ रिवर, अनएक्सपेक्टेड हाई डिस्चार्ज इन अ रिवर which results in the inundation, which results in inundation and spill over the banks of a river. यानी कि इतना ज्यादा अनएक्सपेक्टेड पानी आ रहा है रिवर में, उससे क्या हो रहा है, वो पानी नदी के तीर से बाहर फ्लो हो रहा है, यानी कि उसके बाहर जा रहा है। इट ओवरफ्लोज ओवर द बैंक्स, यानी कि रिवर के जो हमारा बैंक्स रहेंगे उसके ऊपर से बह रहा है, साइड में जा रहा है, और साइड का जो एरिया है वो इनंडेट कर रहा है। इनंडेट कर रहा है यानी कि क्या हो रहा है, वो साइड का एरिया पानी के नीचे आ रहा है। यानी कि जब भी बहुत सारा पानी आता है, बाढ़ जब आता है तो बहुत सारा एरिया जो रहता है वो पानी के नीचे जाता है। जो एरिया पानी के नीचे जाता है उसको हम इनंडेशन एरिया बोलते हैं। यानी कि जेवढं काही एरिया, जेवढं क्षेत्र, ज्या बिल्डिंग्स, ज्या जी टेम्पल्स असतील किंवा आणखी काय असेल, फार्म, शेती असेल, जेवढे काही क्षेत्र और जेवढा काही एरिया पाण्याच्या खाली जातो, कधी पूर आल्यानंतर ना त्यावेळेस त्याला आपण इनंडेटेड एरिया किंवा इनंडेशन एरिया असं म्हणतो। आणि जी पूर असतो त्या पुराला आपण फ्लड म्हणतो। मग पूर कधी म्हणायचं, तर ज्या वेळेस अनएक्सपेक्टेड, अनयुजुअल, म्हणजे आपल्याला एक्सपेक्टेड नाही एवढं पाणी येणं, म्हणजे नदीची कैरिंग कैपेसिटी इफ यू कंसीडर, यानी कि हम मान रहे हैं कि जो रिवर है हमारा, वो रिवर मैक्सिमम मान लो कि 100 क्यूमेक कितना पानी पास कर सकता है, 100 मीटर क्यूब पर सेकंड हम मान रहे हैं, तो ज्यादा नहीं करेगा लेकिन हम मान रहे हैं वो मैक्सिमम कैपेसिटी उसकी कैरी करने की। लेकिन उसमें क्या हुआ, बहुत बारिश हो गई और 200 मीटर क्यूब पर सेकंड का पानी बह रहा, अभी 100 मीटर क्यूब पर सेकंड ज्यादा आ रहा, यानी कि वो क्या हो गया अनयूजुअल हाई राइज ऑफ वाटर, अनयूजुअल हाई राइज ऑफ वाटर हो गया। दैट अनयूजुअल हाई राइज ऑफ वाटर इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ फ्लड। यानी कि अभी हम कंसिडर करेंगे कि भीमा रिवर इट यूज्ड टू कैरी द वाटर, बट देयर इज अ नॉट अ फ्लड थ्रू आउट द ईयर, यानी कि पूरे साल में और पूरा साल भर उसको फ्लड है ऐसा नहीं बोलते, यानी कि पूरा साल भर वो पानी उसमें बहता रहता है, लेकिन हम उसको पूरा साल उसको उसमें बाढ़ है ऐसा हम नहीं बोलते। तो बाढ़ है हम ऐसा बोलते हैं जब पानी उसके कैपेसिटी से ज्यादा उसमें बहना शुरू होता है, और उसमें जब पानी उसके कैपेसिटी से ज्यादा आता है और वो उसके बाहर जाता है, यानी कि रिवर के बाहर जाता है और साइड का एरिया पानी के नीचे आता है, तब उसको बाढ़ बोलते हैं। उसको हम पूर्व, मराठी में उसको पूर्व बोलते हैं और इंग्लिश में उसको हम फ्लड बोलते हैं। So it is an unusual high rise of water in a stream or a river which leads to overflow on banks and inundation of areas is nothing but flood. Or in a simple language we can say any flow which is relatively high and leads to overtake the banks of a river is considered as a flood. यानी कि so whatever be the flow which is relatively high, it is than the carrying capacity, more than the carrying capacity of the river, which leads to overtop of the banks and rivers, is considered as a flood. Then the peak value of the flood, यानी कि flood है तो हम उसका स्टडी क्यों करने का? अभी पूरा गवर्नमेंट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र क्या बोल रहा है कि they have appointed some of the institutions also for controlling the flood, that is for mitigation of the flood. Might be you are aware about that नीरा भीमा स्थिरीकरण प्रोजेक्ट, सेटलमेंट प्रोजेक्ट वी कैन से, यानी कि क्या है, जो भी जितना भी बाढ़ का पानी आएगा नीरा रिवर में, दैट विल बी ट्रांसपोर्टेड टू द भीमा रिवर एंड दैट फ्लड रिस्क विल बी गेट मिटिगेटेड, यानी कि जो फ्लड का चांस है वो कम किया जाएगा. फॉर दैट दे आर डिगिंग द टनल्स फॉर कनेक्टिंग द टू रिवर्स. This is the part of the mitigation of the flood or overcoming the flood conditions. Why we have to mitigate the flood? Because it leads in a huge loss of the life things and money. Forget about the money, but it leads to the huge loss of the life living things. उसमें बहुत सारा, मराठी में क्या बोलते हैं उसको, जीवित हानि यानी वित्त हानि होते हैं. So to control that, we have to study about the flood conditions, know how to measure that flood, how to analyze that, where are its applications. So flood का intention और flood का magnitude यदि हमें मालूम नहीं है और हमने कहीं पे तो ब्रिज कंस्ट्रक्ट कर दिया, तो क्या होगा, फ्लड आएगा तो वो ब्रिज पूरा के पूरा पानी के बहाव से उसमें ऐसे ही बहता जाएगा. One of the condition you might be aware about that Saraswati river, Saraswati Savitri river, I've forgotten that name, in the Konkan region in the previous last 2 years. उसका जो ये था ब्रिज था, वो पूरा के पूरा ब्रिज उसमें कोलैप्स हो गया था and there was the loss of the living things. वो एक बस उसमें बह गई थी. I don't know exactly the name of that river. If you are knowing that, you can Saraswati river, Savitri river, sorry, exactly that Savitri river. Thank you Osnehal ji. That Savitri river case might be aware about. There was a huge flood. यानी कि huge flood यानी कि क्या, जो वहां पे पानी बह रहा था उसका मैग्नीट्यूड इतना हो गया कि उसने जो हाइड्रोडायनेमिक प्रेशर जो एक्सर्ट किया वहां पे, जो हाइड्रोडायनेमिक फोर्स का मैग्नीट्यूड इतना ज्यादा था कि वो ब्रिज का जो बीयरिंग कैपेसिटी था, उसका जो बीयरिंग स्ट्रेंथ था उससे ज्यादा हो गया और उससे क्या हो गया, वो ब्रिज कोलैप्स हो गया और उसमें से वो बहुत सारे लोग बह गए. That was the consequences of that. It means that before construction of a such type of the structures, that is maybe the dam, then maybe the bridge, etc. Before construction of such type of a structure, so we must know about the likelihood conditions of the flood. यानी कि वहां पे जो फ्लड आता है उसका मैग्नीट्यूड कितना है और वो कितना फोर्स एक्सर्ट करेगा, that must be known to us. And by considering those things, we will to design the such type of the hydraulic structures which withstand against such type of the conditions. यानी कि ऐसे जो conditions है वो unexpected conditions है. So to withstand against such unexpected conditions, we should know about the magnitudes of the floods. Okay, if you consider the bridges, those are constructed for the movement of the river, railways and all those things. Railway bridges generally, I think about 99% bridges they never inundates under the flood conditions. यानी कि 99% जे ब्रिज आहेत माझ्या माहितीप्रमाणे ते आजपर्यंत पुरामध्ये कधीही बुडलेले नाहीयेत, पाण्याखाली गेलेले नाहीयेत. बिकॉज for such type of the bridge, who is to require to have an investing a huge amount. उसके ऊपर से क्या जा रहा है, अभी रेलवे जा रहा है, ट्रेन जा रही है. So ट्रेन जा रही है यानी कि उसको वाइब्रेशंस बहुत सारे हैं, लोड बहुत ज्यादा रहेगा. So to bear such type of the combinations of the loads, who is to require to construct a structure, a solid structure, and for construction of a such type of the solid structure, it requires to invest a huge amount. And if we are going to invest a huge amount without considering the flood conditions, and suppose by chance our structure got immersed, structure got inundated in a flood condition, and force exerted by the flood condition is more than that of the bearing capacity of the structure, in that case it will get collapsed. It means that the huge amount which you have invested, it will get washed out. पूर्णपणे काय होणार आहे, आपली रक्कम पूर्णपणे वाया जाणार आहे. So to overcome such conditions or to maintain the structures as it is required to study the flood conditions. Okay, so it means that the peak value of the flood is required in the design of a hydraulic structures such as dams, weirs, bridges, culverts, etc., as I have explained previously. Then the next term comes into picture, that is a design flood. अभी डिजाइन फ्लड यानी कि क्या है, ये भी मान लो कि आप कहीं तो स्ट्रक्चर डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, मान लो कि आप ब्रिज कंस्ट्रक्ट कर रहे हैं, तो वो ब्रिज कंस्ट्रक्ट करते वक्त जो फ्लड का मैग्नीट्यूड आपने कंसीडर किया है, दैट मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ द फ्लड इज नथिंग बट द डिजाइन फ्लड फॉर दैट हाइड्रोलिक स्ट्रक्चर. फॉर एग्जांपल, हियर आई वुड लाइक टू टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ भीमा रिवर, एंड हियर वी हैव अ स्टोन ब्रिज, दगडी पूल आपण म्हणतो, जो ब्रिटिश कालावधीमध्ये बांधला गेलेला आहे. त्याची जर का आपण कंडिशन बघितली तर थोडा जरी फ्लड कंडिशन आला तर तो पूर्णपणे इनंडेट झालेला असतो, त्याची हाईट खूप कमी आहे. बट इफ यू कन्सिडर द अदर टू ब्रिजेस, इट इज अहिल्या ब्रिज अँड न्यू ब्रिज सोलापूर कनेक्टिंग टू सोलापूर, इफ यू कन्सिडर देम, their design flood value or their magnitude of getting inundation or height of water, we can say, is different. It means that the magnitude of the flood or the height of that water depth, we can say, which is considered for a particular structure at the time of its design, that indicates the design flood for that structure. यानी कि वो स्टोन ब्रिज है उसका डिजाइन फ्लड अलग है, जो रेलवे ब्रिज है उसका डिजाइन फ्लड अलग है, जो अहिल्या ब्रिज है उसका डिजाइन फ्लड अलग है, और जो नया ब्रिज अभी कंस्ट्रक्ट किया गया है उसका डिजाइन फ्लड का मैग्नीट्यूड अलग अलग है. यानी कि whenever we is to construct any structure, in that case we have to consider a design flood value and for the structures as in bridges, culverts, dams, etc., and for their construction, whatever the value of the flood we is to consider, that is considered as a design flood. The next is the probable maximum flood. Now what does it mean about the probable maximum flood? That is also called as a PMF. So probable maximum flood यानी कि क्या, कि वो rarely it occurs. Rarely it occurs means, suppose that we consider the flood condition of the Pandharpur to the Bhima river. Rarely it happens, once in a 10 years or once in a 100 years or once in a 50 years, we can say. So likewise, means the maximum floods which occurs so rarely, that is called as a probable maximum. For example, the flood condition which was there in the last water year in the Sangli and Kolhapur district. Because the people those were therein, they were not believing that this much flood will occur. यानी कि वहां पे जो लोग हैं वो बिलीव नहीं करते थे कि इतना फ्लड आ सकता है. Though there was a forecasting and intimation from the government side, then also the people has not believed, but that flood has been occurred. तो दोस्तों ये ऐसा probable maximum flood कब होता है? It results due to the adverse combinations. It results due to the adverse or the severe combinations of the hydrologic and meteorological parameters. यानी कि क्या, बहुत देर तक बहुत मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी वाला बारिश हो रहा है. हाइड्रोलॉजिकल और मेट्रोलॉजिकल पैरामीटर्स का सीवियर मोस्ट कॉम्बिनेशन यानी क्या, हाईएस्ट इंटेंसिटी का मैग्नीट्यूड, यानी कि बहुत जोर वाली बारिश बहुत देर तक चली. से 20 millimeters per hour rainfall has continued for 24 hours. So if such type of the rainfall are going to occur, that is a severe most combination we can see. In that case, there is a chance of the probable maximum flood. It occurs so rarely and it is used for a design of large structures such as a डैम्स, यानी कि जो डैम वगैरह जो रहते हैं उनका सेफ्टी पार्ट बहुत इसेंशियल रहता है, क्योंकि उसमें जो स्टोर किया हुआ जो वाटर रहता है उसका क्वांटिटी बहुत रहता है, ह्यूज अमाउंट रहता है. यदि वो स्ट्रक्चर ब्रेक हो गया तो डाउनस्ट्रीम साइड में उसके जो भी रिवर के साइड में जो सिटीज वगैरह रहते हैं, जो भी गांव रहते हैं, वो पूरे के पूरे इनंडेट हो सकते हैं. So for such type of the structures, we have to consider the design flood as a probable maximum flood. It is a PMF, which is the result of severe most combinations of the meteorological and hydrological factors. Clear? And it occurs so rarely, and it is used for the design of large structures. Okay, so this is a preamble, we can say. Then the next parameter is the factors affecting the flood. So कौन-कौन से parameters हैं जो flood पे affect करते हैं? So those factors are grouped into the two categories. The first group is the climate factors. They are type of precipitation, then intensity of rainfall, duration of rainfall, areal distribution of rainfall, direction of storm movement, and then antecedent precipitation and other climatic factors such as temperature, wind, velocity, and other things. Okay, those parameters already we have discussed. Then also we brush up them and then we will go for the next one. Second parameters are the physiographic factors. These are the nothing but the characteristics representing the our catchment area. It is land use, type of the soil, area of the basin, shape of the basin, elevation and slope, and the type of drainage network. Okay, so we'll go for one by one. That will be hurriedly. Climate factors. First, type of precipitation. If the rainfall would be there, in that case quick runoff and there will be the quick response to the flood. If a snowfall will be there, then there will be delayed runoff and delayed flood will be there. Then intensity of the rainfall. If the intensity is more than infiltration, there will be the runoff, and if it continues, in that case there will be the flood condition. It means that if the higher intensity rainfall is going to continue for a longer duration, in that case there will be the flood condition. And vice versa means if the lower intensity rainfall, less time, there will be the no flood or less flood chances. Duration of rainfall. Prolonged rainfall results in a less and less infiltration time, and with increase in time there will be a reduction in infiltration rate, and it results in a runoff, and if it continue, then it's going to lead to the flood condition. The next one is aerial distribution of rainfall over the basin. That is, heavy rainfall in the lower portion of the basin results in a quick runoff and a quick flood, whereas the heavy rainfall in the upper portion of the basin, it results in the delayed runoff and a delayed flood. And then the even distribution of a rainfall over a basin results in the long and slowly increasing the runoff and the flood, we can say. The next parameter is a direction of the storm movement. The storm moving in the same direction of a flowing stream and its tributaries results in the quick contribution to the runoff and quick contribution and leads to the flood condition, and the vice versa. Antecedent precipitation condition, that is soil moisture conditions, etc. That is, if the moisture conditions prior to the soil are having the enhanced one, is the moisture condition, that soil moisture is more, in that case there will be the immediate response to the runoff and the flood. Okay, the next factors, that is other climatic factors, that is evaporation, temperature, etc. they are not going to affect that much over the flood. Then physiographic factors, land use, that is a land cover, etc. As already we have discussed those parameters, so I am moving hurriedly over them. Land use for various purposes such as cultivation of crops, forest, etc. If the cultivated land will be there, in that case there will be the less chances or delayed floods, we can say, due to the obstruction and vice versa condition. Types of the soils those are having higher infiltration rate, they will absorb more and more water and there will be less chance of the flood and vice versa condition. Then area of the basin, then shape of the catchments, those are the shape of the catchments. This type of the shape leads the quick response to the flood condition, whereas this B part we can say it is delayed, whereas the C part it is to give and fluctuating responses to the flood conditions. Then elevation and slope, more the slope, quick response to the flood condition and vice versa. Type of drainage network, if a drainage network is a poor drainage means there is a quick response to the if the drainage network is a proper, in that case there will be the easily removal of the water from the catchment area and at the outlet there will be the flood condition and vice versa condition. Then the next part, which is the essential one, which we have not discussed, that is the methods of estimation or estimating a peak flood. Now, how to estimate the peak flood? How to find out the magnitudes of a peak flood? So, several methods are there. We are going to discuss them. The first method is a rational method, which we are discussed in a run-up also. Same we are going to discuss, but here the sense of that is in terms of the flood. Next method is empirical method, flood frequency analysis and unit hydrograph analysis. So those four methods are frequently used or mostly used for estimating the peak flood or the maximum value of the flood from catchment area. First one is rational method, then empirical method, flood frequency studies and unit hydrograph methods. So those are used for the analysis of the or estimation of the peak floods. Now we will see one by one. First one, that is a rational method. Rational method assumes that whatever the flood condition will be there, that flood condition will be there after the time of concentration. Now what does it mean about the time of concentration? So time of concentration means that the time required or time taken by a water which is falling to the rainfall at a remote place of a catchment to reach to the outlet of the catchment. That time taken by the water molecules to reach from a remote place to the outlet of the catchment is considered as a time of concentration. And if the rainfall continues beyond the time of concentration, then there is a chance of a peak runoff, that is a flood. That is, in this method, it is assumed that the maximum flood flow will be generated if the certain rainfall continues beyond the time of concentration. That is, it indicates the condition of a peak runoff. Okay, might be you are aware about the time of concentration. Then the formula which is used for the measurement of discharge, that is flood rather we can say, by rational method is correlates the intensity of the rainfall and the catchment area of the catchment. That is Q is equals to CIA. As C is a coefficient, that is a coefficient of the flood or a coefficient of runoff we can say, or a coefficient of a particular region we can say, whose value used to be given in the example. We are going to solve the numericals also, because the numericals were asked in the examination over a rational method of estimating the flood. Then here that Q is nothing but the runoff or the flood in the meter cube per second, or simply we consider time being as a runoff or a flood. Then C is a coefficient, I is the intensity of a rainfall, and A is the catchment area. If I intensity is in a centimeters per hour area is given in a square kilometers and we want Q in a meter cube per second. Area is given in square kilometers, intensity is given in centimeters per hour, and if you want that discharge Q or flood in a meter cube per second, then it is required to convert the units, that is centimeters per hour to the meter per second and kilometer square to the meter square. So by arranging the terms, we used to get the formula or the equation as is equals to 2.778 times CIA. C is the coefficient of runoff or flood, which is accounting for the various obstructions, and for various regions, various locations, that magnitude of the C will be different. Why different? Because it accounts for the obstructions. So for barren land, obstructions will be less. For cultivated land, obstructions will be more. Likewise, the C is going to change. It means that after having the unit conversion, we will have the multiplying factor as a 2.778. Okay, so now we'll go for its limitations and advantages of a rational method. यानी कि जो भी हम चीज देखते हैं उसका कुछ तो बेनिफिट रहता है और उसके कुछ ना कुछ ड्रॉबैक्स रहते हैं, लिमिटेशंस, लैक्यूनास रहते हैं. So we'll see now that there are benefits and lacunas. Firstly, limitations में क्या से? It gives a good results for a small catchments only. It gives a good results for a small catchments. They are having areas up to 50 square kilometers. Now, why that this limitation will be there? That is a good results only up to the 50, and then after with increasing in the catchment area, the results are going to be up here. म्हणजे काय कॅचमेंट एरियाचं मॅग्निट्यूड जर का 50 पेक्षा वाढलं तर त्या केस मध्ये येणारे रिझल्ट्स हे फेअर का असतील? Why it will be so? Here, as the C indicates the obstructions or a coefficient which governs the obstructions, then in that case we can say that over here that beyond the 50 square kilometer area, beyond the 50 square kilometer area, whatever the catchment conditions will be there, that is regarding the soil conditions and other parameters, those conditions are going to change. And as those conditions are going to change, it means that the whatever the results which we will get by this method, they will be up here. So we're assuming that those parameters of those magnitudes or those soil conditions are going to be remain constant up to 50 square kilometers. So it gives a good results for a small catchment area up to 50 square kilometers. Then it is applicable only if the rainfall duration is equal or more than Tc, that is a time of concentration. It means that if a given rainfall or a given rainfall event continues beyond the time of concentration, means jo pani, I will explain that time of concentration, might be all of you are not knowing. Suppose that this is our catchment area, we'll consider that like this, and those are the streams and those are the tributaries. Then in that case, if this is the outlet of the catchment, then it's a remote area or the farthest point will be this one. So the time taken by the water molecule which is going to fall at this position to reach this position, यानी कि this point से यहाँ से इसको यहाँ तक लगने वाला जो time duration रहेगा, that time duration is nothing but the time of concentration. I will change the color so that you will get the idea. Here I had shown, I will take that arrow towards a parallel beat. So this indicates the time of a concentration, TC we can say. यानी कि जो बारिश यहाँ पे हो रही थी, जो बारिश के बूंदे थी, those droplets, यानी कि जो droplets water के थे यहाँ पे जो गिर रहे थे, that droplet requires some time to reach to outlet of the catchment, farthest point, remote point है यहाँ. सो ये इस पॉइंट से इसको यहां तक पहुंचने के लिए जो टाइम लगेगा, दैट टाइम इज नथिंग बट द टाइम ऑफ अ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन। एंड और लिमिटेशन हमने क्या बोला रैशनल मेथड का, कि यदि वो बारिश टाइम ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन से ज्यादा देर तक रहती है, यानी कि जो टाइम इंटरवल टी रहेगा, आई विल गो फॉर हियर इन दैट टाइम इंटरवल टी of a rainfall, if it is a more than time of concentration Tc, if it is a more than time of concentration Tc, then and only then this method is applicable or best suited। क्योंकि पहला assumption हमारा क्या है कि this method assumes that the flood will be there when the water from the remote places will contribute to the or will reach to the outlet, and again the rainfall is continuing beyond that. So whenever the rainfall, that is time period of rainfall, is more than the time of concentration, then this method is applicable. This is a limitation of this method, we can say. Okay, so applicable only if the rainfall duration is equal or more than Tc, then the rainfall intensity should be constant during the Tc, means whatever the time of concentration is there, during that whole time of concentration, the whatever rainfall intensity will be there, that rainfall intensity must be a constant। यानी कि मान लो कि बारिश स्टार्ट हुई थी, तब उसका जो इंटेंसिटी था, उसकी जो इंटेंसिटी थी, वो इंटेंसिटी मान लो कि 2 मिलीमीटर पर आवर थी। वो इंटेंसिटी अप टू टाइम ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन तक होनी चाहिए, यानी कि टाइम ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन मान लो कि 2 आवर्स का है। सो बिटवीन दैट टाइम पीरियड, that is from the beginning up to the end of 2 hours, that same rainfall intensity must be there. So those are the limitations, we can say. Now we'll see the examples of that. This is the example which was asked in December 16 in our university examination for 5 marks. Okay, I will read the statement. An engineer is required to design a drainage system for an airport with an area of a 2.5 square kilometer for a rainfall value of a 50-year return period. The 50-year rainfall intensity in that region is given by I is equals to, intensity formula they are given, 35 upon T plus 10 raised to 0.38, where I is the intensity in a centimeters per hour and T is the duration of a rainfall in a minutes. The time of concentration for the area under consideration is estimated as a 50 minutes. This T they have given us as a 50 minutes. Calculate the design discharge for the drainage system. Take runoff coefficient equals to 1. Here they have given us as a runoff coefficient as a 1. Means for C they had given, then I is given, area is given. It means that we have to go for rational method, that is Q is equals to CIA. C is given as 1. For finding the I, they had given the formula and time period also given, and area is also given to us. So it's an also simple one. It was asked for us 5 marks. So in the solution now we are knowing it relates the coefficient C, intensity I, and area A. So we'll use the rational formula, that is Q is equals to CIA. Then C is given as 1. For finding the I, they have given us equation as 35 upon T plus 10 raised to 0.38. Then for finding the I, the time period is given as 50 minutes. So put the value of the T as a 50 over here. That will be 35 upon 50 plus 10, that is a 60 raised to 0.38. Isn't it? So 60 raised to 0.38. Just to go for the solving the example and tell me the answers immediately. Ask me. I'm not going to tell the answers. I don't have the answers for that. Please do fast and tell me the answer. Now by I, put up that value of the I into the our equation. Q is equals to CIA. C is 1 into I is a 7.3938, whatever it may be, into area is now how much it is? 2.5. Okay, so now area is in a square kilometer, intensity is in a centimeters per hour. Okay, so here we will be required to have a multiplying factor, or rather unit conversion we can say. Unit conversion, that is intensity from centimeters per hour to the meters per second. Centimeters to the meters means 1/100, isn't it? And seconds to the hour means we have to divide it by 3600. Okay, please be fast. And area from square kilometers to the square meter we have to introduce here multiplying. So here that multiplying factor will be 2.778. So the value of the Q will be equals to, now do the multiplications immediately, that is 7.39 into 2.5 into 2.778, that is a 51.32 something meter cube per second. Okay, so this is the magnitude of a discharge we can say which is passing through that particular catchment area. Is this answer is correct one? 51.3. Is this answer is correct? Please do check it. Okay, so this answer is correct. So now we'll proceed for the next method. So such type of the examples were asked in examination, and also they are there in our booklet, so you can solve them. Then the next method is a flood frequency analysis. Now, how to find out the flood, how to estimate, that is when that flood will be occur, or estimate the peak flood. For estimation of the peak flood, the second method is a flood frequency analysis. So flood frequency analysis uses the data in the past about the various magnitudes of a discharges those were occurred in a stream or a river at the casing sites. And by using that data, they used to predict that, they used to find out the probability of occurrence of a flood event. We'll see one by one. It makes the use of data observed in a past to predict the future flood events along with their probability of occurrence, that is a return period. Means if a certain event has been occurred, then after how many years or in a future when that same flood or same event will occur. There is a probability of occurrence of that flood we can say. As like an unbiased bias when used to through that, in that case occurrence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 we used to find out the probability. So similarly here the flood means the highest magnitude, that is a 6. So when it will occur 1/6, in a 1 through it will be 1/6 likewise. So here it is 1 through is a one event, one observation we can say. So likewise here if it has been thrown for a several times, say n times, then n/6 is nothing but the probability of occurrence likewise we can say. So here also we used to utilize the data in the past which has been recorded for prediction of the flood, that is the probability of occurrence. Then the terminology is related to that, it is a flood frequency. So flood frequency means what? In a particular time interval, how many times it has been repeated or how many times it has been occurred. Say in 100 years, how many times it has been occurred. That is nothing but the frequency of occurrence we can say in 100 years. So the frequency, it indicates the likelihood of a flood being equaled or exceeded. Means that event has been occurred or more than that times it has been occurred. For example, 10% frequency. 10% frequency of occurrence of a flood, it means that out of 100 times, out of 100 observations, the flood was occurred for 10 times or more than 10 times. मिनिमम 10 टाइम्स और मोर दॅन 10 टाइम्स वी कॅन से. म्हणजे 100 याचा डाटा पिरियड असेल, 100 इयर्स डाटा आपल्याकडे असेल, and if its frequency is a 10% of occurrence, it means that the flood will occur 10 times or more than 10 times, or it has been occurred for 10 times or more than 10 times in that particular data set. That is, flood frequency is equals to 100 times the probability, 100 into probability, and probability is nothing but the p is equals to 1 by t, that is a return period we can say. Okay, and that return period is nothing but that it indicates that after how many years that same flood will occur. आणि म्हणजे काय, आपण 6 वेळा डायस तो थ्रो केला, त्याच्यामध्ये 6 पडण्याचा चान्स किती वेळा आहे किंवा किती वेळा पडला. म्हणजे एकदा पडला सुरुवातीला, म्हणजे पहिल्या थ्रो मध्ये पडला, नंतर ना समजा तो 5व्या थ्रो मध्ये पडला, याचा अर्थ काय झाला, त्याचा रिटर्न पिरियड हा 5 झाला. म्हणजे आफ्टर 5 थ्रोज इट विल शो अगेन अ 6. त्याचा रिटर्न पिरियड झाला. सिमिलरली जर का आपण 100 वेळाचा डाटा आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये फ्लड इव्हेंट आपण अनालाइज करतो आणि आपण एखादी व्हॅल्यू त्याच्यातली घेतली, ती व्हॅल्यू ज्यावेळेस आपण अरेंज करणार, त्याच्यामध्ये त्या टाइम सिरीज मध्ये ती व्हॅल्यू पुन्हा कधी ऑकर होते, किती वर्षांनी ऑकर होते किंवा किती वर्षांनी पुन्हा ती प्रोड्यूस होते, तो टाइम पिरियड म्हणजेच आपला रिटर्न पिरियड झाला. That is, it indicates the number of years in which flood can be expected to occur once. क्लिअर. म्हणजे 6 वेळा आपण ज्यावेळेस तो डायस फेकला, त्यावेळेस त्याच्यामध्ये 2 वेळा त्याने 6 दाखवलं, त्याने 6 दिखाया, यानी कि उसका रिटर्न पीरियड कितना हो गया, फर्स्ट में आ गया था, बाद में 5वें में आ गया, 5वें थ्रो में आ गया, 5th थ्रो में आ गया. सो 5 is the return period. Likewise, then the probability of occurrence, that is, it indicates the probability of an event being equal or exceeded in a 1 year or any year, any number of years we can say, that is equals to 1 upon t, that is a 1 upon a return period. Clear. And the procedure, अभी फ्लड फ्रीक्वेंसी एनालिसिस कैसे करते हैं, उसमें क्या किया जाता है, फर्स्टली जो भी हमें डाटा मिला होता है, मान लो कि 1991 whatever the maximum discharge was there in a river, 1992 maximum discharge, 1993 maximum discharge, 1994 maximum discharge, ये सब डिस्चार्ज के वैल्यू और ईयर्स में दिए होते हैं. बाद में क्या करते हैं, whatever the flood is there, given value of the discharge is there, that discharge is arranged in a descending order. So hydrological data, that is the discharge, is arranged in a descending order, यानी कि highest value will appear at the first and the lowest value will appear at the last in that particular series of a magnitude. And then the probability of each event is calculated by a plotting position method, and along with that the risk and reliability is also calculated. Now how it is calculated, we will see that. So first step is that whatever the data which is given to us regarding a discharge, that data we have to arrange in a descending order and we have to give them orders. That is, orders means numbering we have to go down, that is called as order here. Then the probability of occurrence is found out as a m upon n plus 1, where m is nothing but the number of order that I'm going to show you in the next slide. It means that order means, if suppose that highest flood is there, highest value is there, it will have order number 1. It will be at a position 1. That position is nothing but the order after arranging in a descending. So that m may be 1, or that may be the first, or that may be the last one. And n indicates that total number of events in a data. Suppose that 100 years data is there, this 100 values will be there. Then n is nothing but the 100 plus 1. So probability p will be m upon n plus 1 for flood frequency analysis. m indicates the probability of an event for which you want to find out its occurrence. यानी कि क्या, ये m क्या आपका फर्स्ट भी हो सकता है और लास्ट भी हो सकता है. That we are going to discuss now. And then return period t is nothing but 1 by p. That I will go for with the example. Suppose that this is a data which is given to us. Initially it is a raw. Here I have arranged it is in a descending order. That is, I have considered the highest value at the beginning, and then the next highest likewise. So lowest value appeared at the last. So total 6 observations are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So highest will be ranked as 1, means its order is 1. Then next one you have is the second order, next as a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Likewise, orders are given. That is a ranks we can say. So here, if you want to find out the probability of occurrence of a flood of 160 meter cube per second, if you want to find out the occurrence of a 160 meter cube per second, कधी होणार किंवा त्याची probability of occurrence काय असेल आणि त्याचा return period किती असेल. If you want to find out that, then for a first event, that is a 160 meter cube per second, P is equals to m by n plus 1. M is order number. Order number कितना है यहाँ पे 160 का first है, so that is the first upon n यानी कि total number of observations 6 है, so 6 plus 1 that is a 7, so that is a 1 by 7, that is a 0.14 is the chance of a occurrence of that particular event. यानी कि 160 meter cube per second 6 डेटा अनालिसिस केल्यानंतर ना त्याचा चान्स ऑफ ऑकरन्स हा 0.14 आहे. म्हणजे एक जर का आपण पकडला आउट ऑफ 1 इट विल ऑकर फॉर 0.14 टाइम्स. Then if you consider it's a return period, then return period is 1 upon probability, 1 by 0.14, that is a 7.14 we can say. यानी 7.14 after an interval of 7.14 years or whatever the time which will be considered over here. समजा इथं आपण 10 वर्षाचा इव्हेंट घेतलेला आहे, 10 years गॅप दिलेला आहे, म्हणजे 10 years म्हणजे 50 वर्षाचा आपण डाटा घेतलेला आहे. then in that case the t will be 7.14 म्हणजे 7.14 times it will occur. So after 7.14 times duration it will occur over there. But for the last event that is having the magnitude as a 80 meter cube per second, आता हे कमीच आहे. आता कमी आहे म्हणजे काय, दर पावसाळ्यामध्ये हे एवढं येऊ शकतं असं आपण म्हणतो, isn't it? If you check its a probability of occurrence, then P is equals to m by n plus 1. M is a 6, that is order number 6 upon n is once again total event as a 6 plus 1, that is 6 by 7, that is 0.85. This near to the 1. Maximum probability of occurrence is 1, means each and every time the flood will occur. But here 0.85 means it is a closely to the 1, means near about this event is going to occur. If you consider it's a return time or return period, then it will be 1 upon probability, it is 1 upon 0.85, that is 1.17, means after every 1 year it is going to occur, likelihood of occur. म्हणजेच कमीत कमी मॅग्निट्यूड असणारा डिस्चार्ज हा साधारणतः दरवर्षी किंवा 1 वर्षाआड कंपल्सरी त्या रिव्हर बेसिन मध्ये येणार आहे. परंतु जो मॅक्झिमम फ्लड आहे दिलेल्या डाटा प्रमाणे त्याचा जो प्रोबॅबिलिटी ऑफ ऑकरन्स आहे दॅट इज 0.14 आउट ऑफ 1, इट इज गोइंग टू ऑकर आफ्टर 7 इयर्स. जर का आपण टाइमिंग आपण इयर मध्ये पकडलं तर 7.14 वर्षांनी तो येऊ शकतो, परंतु कमीचा कधी आहे, दर 1.17 इयर्स इट्स. This is nothing but the probability distribution. Okay. Then next method is the empirical formulas. Empirical formulas are designed as per the different locations. So Dickens formula, it relates the area to the coefficients, that is a C a raised to 3 by 4. C raised to 3 by 4, where the C is a coefficient, it's a value for northern India as 11.4, for central India is 13.9 to 19.5, western India is a 22.2 to the 20.5. Then Ray's formula, it gives the relation as a C into a raised to 2/3, which is built for or which is meant for a Madras catchments, where the coefficient for the areas up to 20 within 24 kilometer from the coastal areas is a 6.75. While moving away from it, it is from 24 to 161. Its value is increasing. It is 8.45. And for limited areas near the hills, its magnitude is 10.1. So the empirical formulas are based on the observations and the research those have been carried out by the different researchers in the different regions or the locations. Then the next formula is the English formula. It is applicable for the catchments of a former Bombay presidency, which relates Q is equals to 130A upon root of A plus 10.4, which is nearly equals to 123 times A raised to half, or root of A we can say. Then Nawab Jan Bahadur formula, that is for the catchments of the old Hyderabad states, means they have carried out the research in that area and they have established the relation as a CA raised to 0.993 minus 1 by 14 log A. A is the area, where C varies from 48 to 60 for this equation. Next one is the Fuller's formula. It takes into consideration the flood frequencies also and expressed in a metric units as Qmax is equals to C into A raised to 0.8 into 1 plus 0.8 log T into 1 plus 2.67 A raised to minus 1. So those are the relations which they have developed for those regions. Then the next one. So this is about the methods those are used. Another one method, that is a analysis of the hydrograph. That hydrograph analysis we had seen in the run-up also. So in the hydrograph, by knowing the magnitude of the peak of the hydrograph we used to know. Then from that peak, you will add the base flow and other parameters, then we used to get the peak. So this is all about the second unit, that is the stream gauging and the floods. Okay.